Hi, this is Mike Hendrickson from OSCON 2013. I'm here with John Graham-Cumming. How you doing?
I'm doing well.
You're doing well. So how has this conference been for you this year?
Well, it's really nice because I haven't been for a few years to OSCON.
Okay.
And so it was a good surprise to come back and see it's still going strong. In fact, stronger than ever, so it's great.
So what's the biggest difference you noticed from, say, 5 years ago to now with OSCON?
Well, I mean, the big thing, of course, is that open source is just what you do, right?
It won, yeah.
I mean, it won in a way that's just overwhelming. And in fact, I was wandering around here in the expo, and it's funny how all of the things I use in my daily work, at Cloudflare, so many of them are here as companies based on open source. And it's funny to think about that because I was an old Microsoft programmer, for example, and everything was Microsoft. And suddenly there was this wave came, and it took a bit longer than a few years, but now everything is, it starts as open source and becomes something interesting.
So the interesting thing I'm hearing though is that, I know that there was a struggle and a battle years ago with open source and proprietary and Microsoft and whatnot. And then there came this, open source is winning, it's in the enterprise, it's there for good, blah, blah, blah. Now I'm hearing more of this, it's not a zero-sum game, that it's a game of who wins are the ones who integrate with each other and interoperate with each other the best. Are you picking that up at all here?
Well, that shouldn't be a surprise, right?
Yeah,
why would open source be any different to business or anything else? I mean, you do need to write something that works with other bits of software. For example, at work, we have a huge amount of open source stuff and it all has to interact, and how those things work together does make a big difference. So that doesn't surprise me at all. I think it's a sign of maturity that we've got to the point where it's like, actually, we need to make alliances, we need to have some of the things that we think of as business things, and they're really just life.
Yes, exactly. So you're an author of a particularly interesting book with O'Reilly.
I'm glad you say that. I obviously think it's interesting, but yeah.
Oh, I think it's very interesting, and I'm glad we did it. And can you explain a little bit about what it is and what inspired you to want to write it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I wrote a book called The Geek Atlas, and The Geek Atlas is a sort of travel book. Well, it's a travel book for nerds, basically, or geeks, depending on what term you like. And what happened was I was working in Germany, and there's a fantastic science museum in Munich where I was working called the Deutsches Museum, and I visited it, and I had suddenly thought, I'd never heard of this museum, why not? Oh, I bet someone's done Lonely Planet for Scientists. And I literally that night went on Amazon and tried to buy the book I ended up writing. It just didn't exist. And so I had traveled a lot because of living in different countries and also just traveling. And I had an idea that I had a list of places that I loved that were scientific. And I also had this idea that it'd be nice to do a sort of armchair thing as well. So within each place in the book, there's a description of the place, so you really can use it as a travel book. But there's also a description of some of the science behind it. So you can then say, okay, I'm not actually able to go to, let's say, Germany, but I can read about how the diesel engine works, for example. It's in the book. So it's also a science book. So it's a travel and a science book.
And there are 256
128.
Oh, so we could expand to 256.
Yes.
And then 512.
Absolutely. Yeah. When you say we, you mean me. It would be a lot of work.
The royal we.
Yes. The thing is, I wanted to do 128. Obviously because it's a power of two, and also as a sort of secret signaling device, right? Which is that if someone picks up the book and says, "Why is it 128?" then immediately they probably aren't going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
They're the wrong target audience.
Yeah. So let's go back to Cloudflare.
Yeah.
What is Cloudflare? It's an interesting name. But what do you guys do?
I have absolutely no real idea what the name means. I wasn't involved in picking that name, but the idea is that we think that there is a layer that can be built within the internet, a service layer for websites that provides services like acceleration and security and other things you might want to do, like making your site mobile aware and things like that. Because if you look at large websites, even for example O'Reilly, there'll be staff who are having to worry about, is it fast enough, does it work everywhere in the world correctly, is it secure, what is it like on a mobile device? And there are just so many websites that don't have the capability or the time to do all those things. So basically Cloudflare offers all that sort of stuff as a service. So what happens is people sign up for us, and then all the traffic for their website goes through us, and then we can then cache images, for example. So we behave a bit like a CDN, but we can also be a firewall against hackers, and we can also then say, oh, you're on a mobile device, we'll resize those images so they're smaller. So it's a service that really provides things that a very large web firm would have to anyone who's got a website.
So you're a cloud service?
We are, but we're not providing a way for you to run software. What we're saying is pass your website through us, and we will do things to the traffic that make it better, faster, more secure, distributed around the world, so you get high speed in Australia and in the US, whereas your hosting might be in Sweden, for example.
Excellent. And so where are you guys located?
So the primary office is in San Francisco. That's where most of the work is done, and we have an office in London, which is where I work.
Okay. And where are you guys going to take this in the future?
Well, so we have 23 locations around the world where we actually have servers, so hundreds and hundreds of servers in each location. And the big thing for us is expanding that footprint across the globe, because a lot of what we want, the way our network works, is when you connect to, it's my personal website, for example, jgc.org is on there. When you connect to that in South Korea, you actually connect to a machine that's in South Korea. Now, my hosting is actually in the UK, and what Cloudflare wants to do is spread that across the globe. So wherever you are, you get to a nearby server, and that really helps, because the speed of light really kills you when you're trying to do web browsing, if you go a long way. And so by having all these things all over the world, we'll do that, and that just enables us to service more and more clients from around the world.
Excellent. John, it's been great talking with you.
It's really nice to talk to you too. Yeah, it's nice to see you too. Thanks very much.